We're actually going to start with some breaking news. We now know several fire department dive teams are being called to a river rescue at South Main Street and Beltline Road. We're told the robber just walks into the store, heads over to the employee door, and then demands the money. You can see right now crews are out here working on the damage to Kennedy. If you look over my shoulder, plans to bring a casino to Rockford have failed in the Illinois House Committee. However, the bill may get tweaked and voted on again. We're following breaking news. Rockford police are investigating a shooting on the city's southwest side. What we do know is that one student was shot right here in front of Stevenson Towers North early this morning. If you take a look behind me, right over where those students are standing, area police spent much of the night tracking down drunk drivers. Right now, we know more than a dozen arrests were made. A Rockford firefighter is injured after fighting a house fire this afternoon on the city's east side. We did just learn about an hour ago that Superintendent Dr. LaVon Sheffield will be leaving her position here as superintendent of Rockford Public Schools. We are on the scene of that river rescue. If you take a look behind me, you can still see crews are still here from several various police departments as well as fire departments. And what we know at this point is that a 17-year-old was out on the water with two friends when the canoe that he was in tipped over. That's right, Mike and Tina. The bypass is all clear at this point, but just an hour ago it was much different. There were about 80 semis parked all along both sides of the street. Now the problem stemmed from something down near LaSalle and I-80, and because of that whole stretch for 130 miles was shut down. Semis lined up like dominoes on the bypass to get on I-39. Blizzard conditions beating down on the area forced state police to close the highway heading south all the way to Bloomington.
It's been a bad one this time. I haven't seen it this bad since I've been driving for 9 years now.
Jim Harrison is one of more than 80 truck drivers waiting to move on. State police shut down the interstate for safety, and that prompted this long line of trucks spanning a half a mile, and now all they have to do is wait. The trucks clogged the east and westbound lanes. Now some deliveries won't arrive on time.
Most of these loads are supposed to be due someplace today, but they won't get there till tomorrow.
Sitting here for hours, not only will some orders be late, but some of these drivers, like William Banks from Texas, won't be paid for the holdup.
Sitting here, I don't get paid for this, so I get paid by the mile, and so I'm actually losing money.
Despite the waste of time, Banks is thankful he's safe, and while the storm is a record breaker, he thinks the experience wasn't as bad as others.
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I lived through one back in '85 in Europe that was supposed to be the storm of the century, you know, back in that one, and survived it, so I can survive this one.
So to pass the time, they tell us they watch movies and read. It also keeps them in good spirits.
It was something that we didn't even see coming.
Wayne Fricks is opening up exclusively tonight with 23 News about the loss of his son, 21-year-old Wayne Fricks Jr.
It was a shock to our family. This was a big shock to our family. It just, like, all the air literally went up out of me. You know, I just felt horrible.
He was shot September 13th on Day Street while hanging out with some acquaintances. Fricks Sr. says his son was trying to break up a fight.
And I just wondered what was going on before he got shot. Just makes me wonder.
Fricks Sr. is a former gang member turned local anti-violence advocate, and this was just the type of crime he warned his son about and the community.
You know, and knowing the impact and the damage that violence does to families, because I watch other families cry after a loss. And so now that it's me, it adds a whole new dimension to my work, to my passion, to just to me as a person.
To talk about his son is therapy. He describes him as a funny, tender-hearted guy who would always lend a hand to Dad.
And if there's any lesson can be learned for any young people that are in the community of Rockford, the streets are not your friends. It's not your friends. They'll change on you. They'll turn on you on any given moment.
He's warning parents to know more about their kids' lives in hopes it can prevent another tragedy. In Rockford, Kimberly Brown, 23 News, right now.
She said we get married on your birthday so you'll never forget it.
That's right.
Evie and Tony Zalaki have the storybook romance. They have been married almost 62 years, longer than almost every couple in the state line.
God has blessed us, truly has.
They attribute their success to simple advice like don't go to bed angry and have respect for each other. But they also say the real secret to a long marriage is love and teamwork.
The secret to not having fights and arguments is if one is talking, the other one keeps their mouth shut. But if you both start talking at the same time, boy, that's trouble.
Their story began in 1947. Rockford was bustling. Both were working at the downtown Amarok building. At the same time, Tony was stationed at Camp Grant, which is now part of the Rockford Airport. But it was his ability on the court that won Eddie's heart.
And I guess that's probably what attracted her, them beautiful legs that I had.
Not long after, the pair married and started their family tree.
I could remember days when we couldn't even go out to afford to buy a hamburger. Now we can buy two.
Evie then went to work. She became the first female police officer in Loves Park. She also helped start the Young at Heart Parade. Years later, she began working for the coroner, and the whole time, Tony was right there by her side.
He was very understanding when I was called out so many times as a coroner's officer, in the middle of the night.
And after all those years, this September, the couple will celebrate their 62nd anniversary. They feel lucky and proud to say their marriage is still going strong.
I hope it lasts another 20 or 30 years. And the way I feel now, outside my knees, I think I can make it.
In Loves Park, Kimberly Brown, 23 News.
I was pretty sad. I didn't know how to tell my parents.
I was nervous and scared.
It was once rarely talked about. Now it's on the cover of magazines and even has its own shows. But being a teen mom is more real for these girls than what's seen on reality TV.
I think they kind of glamorize it more because they don't show like the hardships like that really happen. They show some of them, but not like all of them.
Meet Liz. She's 8 months pregnant. She's also a 16-year-old sophomore at Belvedere North. Her parents and boyfriend are supporting her.
My future, I know it's going to change. It's gotten harder, I guess, but it hasn't really changed too much yet.
But a lot has changed for Sophia Ochoa. She had to drop out of high school at East to stay home with her son Benjamin, who's now 4 months old. Her family and boyfriend are also helping her raise him.
My whole plan of graduating, going to college and all that, I just had to put a big pause on it and just wait for me to start all over again.
These moms say they've noticed more girls their age having babies too young. They also think the numbers are growing, but state statistics show teen pregnancy has remained the same throughout the last 20 years. If you look at the numbers from 2008 and 1993, they're relatively close. And while the stats haven't changed, some think our culture accepts the issue. But for those who lived it 20 years ago, like Yolanda Cruz, she remembers it differently.
I was scared. I mean, it's a scary place. You're 17 years old, you're 6 months pregnant, what are you gonna do?
Back then, she wasn't supported by her parents. It left her pregnant, scared, and homeless. Yolanda had to move into a community shelter and work her way up. But she did get help from MELD, which supports young parents. It's what she credits to her newfound success. She mentors other young moms trying to make it, but she spent most of her time warning her own daughters about the cycle.
My daughter, who I was pregnant with at MELD, is now graduating from high school and she's going to college. And it's like if I hadn't gotten, if I hadn't received that guidance from MELD, she'd probably be pregnant and, ready to move into the housing project.
After that 20-year struggle, Yolanda has a college degree and just started a new job. Liz still has a while to go. She's due in June. Kimberly Brown, 23 News.